What is waking up? My name is Eve.
My name is Sarah.
And we are burnt out perfectionist.
Are we burnt out right now? Sure are.
I'm not like super tired.
I'm not super tired. I caught up a lot on like sleep because over the last bit, my friend's family was in from Alberta, and basically I was hanging out with them and I was staying up way past my bedtime. And it really, really caught up with me and hit me hard. So I started going to bed at even more obscure times to try to catch up. So that was fun. Except for last night, I was like fucking tired. And then I was like, oh, I'll do a couple things. I'm like, shit, it's 11. Like, go downstairs, brush my teeth, put my hair up. Somehow 30 minutes. I was like, how long was I brushing my teeth for? And then I laid in bed and then my phone died. And then I took my husband's phone and went on his TikTok because he was sleeping. Because I was like, I need to scroll to fall asleep. What is your survive and thrive of the week?
My survive is I'm just tired from work.
Yeah.
And the thrive, I've almost paid off my student loan.
I was going to say, you should celebrate that. That's like fucking...
I'm trying to think if there's anything else more interesting.
No, I mean, that's like a super cool thing to do, is to actually like have it paid off.
Yeah.
Oh, and to actually be doing the same career that you went to school with when you're paying off the student loan. Unlike myself. Definitely was not a travel agent after I paid off my travel agent schooling.
What was your survive and thrive of the week?
My thrive is I'm super stoked because I'm going to Calgary, Alberta. I've watched a bunch of people pronounce things funny, and I usually go Calgary, like as a joke, but Calgary, Alberta.
No.
And I'm tagging along on my husband's business trip, which his company is fully aware. And the Tiny Human's coming too, and it's just fun to be in a different province. We're going to do all the dinosaur things, which is fun. And yeah, I'm stoked. Different place. And my two essentials for booking the hotel. Obviously, they had to be a specific type of hotel because all companies are like that when you're in their booking portals. I said, I want hot breakfast, not a freaking continental breakfast, not a grab-and-go breakfast, none of that other bullshit. I want a hot breakfast. He's like, okay. I'm like, and a pool. Because he's going to be there, and like for 2, maybe 3 of the days, he'll have half days of working. And I have someone to entertain. And frankly, I hate going to breakfast places like restaurants because they charge so much for breakfast and it's fucking ridiculous.
And it's cheaper to want like a hot breakfast in a hotel than like having a kitchenette sometimes.
Also, like my kid is at that point where she's in between the 2 different sizes for meals. Like there's like the kid meals and then the adult meals. And then sometimes what'll happen is like I'll get an adult meal and she'll eat half my food and her food, or it all kind of like depends. Usually at some point there ends up being like waste, so I just try to like, it's just easier. Also, if you've not experienced a pancake machine, you're missing out on life.
Oh my god, it's the best. The
conveyor belt. Conveyor belt of, quoting my kid, flour pancakes, because they look like little flowers when they come out. Go see on the thing. And then my survive is lack of sleep. And, stressing about preparing, going for said things. So,
I just casually find out about these things when I open the Google Calendar.
Like, well, I knew what was happening. And I originally thought it was going to be like maybe 4 days at the most. And then Ben's like, oh yeah, I booked it in Sunday and then we check in on Sunday and then check out on Saturday. And I was like, what? He's like, oh no, okay. And he's like, well, I have this many like vacation days to book off, vacation days left, and then I'm going to be there for these days, and then I want to make sure we have enough days to do things like the dinosaur museum and stuff like that, which it says like the average person could take like 4.5 hours to go through, and same with like the zoo. And he's like, I figure those are like half days, and then we're going to be beat for the like other remaining half of the day. So like he's like, I was just trying to like average it out, and I was like, okay, I don't know. I was just like, okay, now. And then while I'm editing, I'm just going to go home and neurotically make an itinerary for the week. So we have expectations of what we're going to do and where. Because it was advised to pre-book everything Because if not, like, for example, the Tyrone Museum, if you don't pre-book online, like a slot to go there, you could wait in a line for up to 2.5 hours.
That's the summer, yeah.
And that's like a hard fucking pass for me. Like, I don't stand in line for 2.5 hours. I won't do it for a crumble fucking cookie in Port Coquitlam. I will not do it for that.
Yeah. Well, you can't even have any of them because they have butter in them.
I know. I was so disappointed. I figured because they were a mass market chain, they would have either a dairy-free option or just make their shit with margarine or Crisco. Lard. Hey, sometimes lard is needed. You could laugh. So today's episode, I called it bizarre life hacks. It might just be like random life hacks that we've done. So we'll just go through a couple things. These are hacks that we've like legitimately tried, and maybe some examples of how we've tried them, a couple different categories, and then I wrote them out and printed them out on paper because that's where my brain's at right now. And then,
I got these pen and gear ones from Walmart probably 4 years ago when I was in college.
Yeah.
Look at them right there.
That's so thin.
And like, they're 0.7, but like, they don't feel like 0.7.
You see those pens I sent you? Voted as the best pens in the world. It's some Japan stationery company.
But they're so wet.
They look wet, but they also look really thick.
Yeah.
Like for a pen, and it's a bulk.
I don't like thick pens like that.
I'm
a thin.
It depends on like what I'm doing. But if I'm writing something, sometimes I have a tendency like, I don't know. It has to look a certain way. Like this looks messy as fuck and it's driving me insane, but I'm just going to leave it here. Because for some weird reason, as soon as I put a piece of paper down, I write my name in the upper right-hand side and then the date in the left-hand side.
Do the opposite.
Oh, you do the opposite. Nice.
Sorry.
That's okay. I was going to say, so starting us off, household and cleaning hacks. I wrote a couple down so that we have some examples, but of course, Eve was at work, working hard. I mean, I was here working, but...
I literally texted her. Well, I texted her a couple days ago when I found out about them going, and I was like, "Hey, so we don't have enough podcast episodes when you're gone. So, maybe we could do like you could stay later." And then I was like, "Well, now that I have associated said plan, I need you to come from Asia. That's not going to take too much mental strain."
Yeah, I was like, "Okay, so what's easy? Let's think of some easy things." So, life hacks can be easy. You can see them on TikTok or YouTube or any other social media platforms that you've seen them, gotten them in books, schooling, anything like that. So household and cleaning hacks. One of the ones that I saw was, all those lovely reusable bags that we have, or I've used boxes. You have one allocated for kind of like each person or each room that it has to go to downstairs if you have a bunch of stuff that ends up. Like, I have a townhouse, so there's an upstairs and a downstairs, and the bedrooms are downstairs, and so is the bathroom, and then the upstairs is, like, the main living area. So what I will do to stop me from getting distracted and walking up and down the stairs, unless, of course, I have to pee, is to use, like, reusable bags or to use boxes. Sometimes I'll even write on them, especially if they're boxes from Costco, because I don't care. I'm going to put them in the recycling bin anyways. And then I'll make sure that all that stuff is separated and somewhat organized. Unless I feel completely chaotic, then I'm just literally throwing it in the bag and I'll figure it out later. But worst comes to where at least those bags end up in the room. And hopefully along the way, they kind of like peter out. But that's one way to kind of not get distracted. Because, like if you walk into one room and it's full of shit to do, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to start with this other room. And then you keep walking to the other room. And you're like, no, this, I could do this real quick. I could just do this real quick. It's totally fine. And you start doing it, and then you accidentally, like, obsessively deep clean a specific room that you weren't meaning to and left everything else half a mess. And then you run out of steam. My house is in that state right now, to be totally honest. But
mine is, when you're cleaning your room, remove all the packaging first.
Oh, yeah, the recycling.
Recycling and garbage. So, like, if you, like, go to the store, say... Yes, I buy my clothing from Costco. Mm-hmm. I love Costco.
Yep.
You bring it in, and you're like, okay, so I got the new dad. What's it called? Tula Tough.
Oh, yeah.
Leggings.
Yeah.
I got 2 sets, and I was like, oh my god, this is so great. Take them home, took the packaging off, put it in the recycling, hang them out.
Yeah.
If you do that, or like any sort of time you walk into your room and you're like, there's so much stuff everywhere. Packaging.
Yeah.
Number one thing that you can get rid of.
Packaging.
Like, if you've already made the decision to keep it, also, you shouldn't just be, like, randomly buying things and sticking them in your house, but,
Yeah.
Packaging. The next one is tinfoil on paint trays. So, makes it reusable. But also, I can attest that I started painting this room. You can go back in the podcast episodes. Probably beginning of this year. I think it was actually in March.
I think it was spring break.
Was it spring break?
Yeah.
A couple months ago.
Yeah.
And I had the Bear Scuff Defense stain blocking paint and primer.
Staring at it right now.
And it has, because they have those lovely nozzles on the top.
Okay, I've never seen those pour spouts before, and my mind was blown, and she looked at me like, when was the last time you painted a room? Like,
literally since, like, the upstairs had them too. So the nice thing about the pour spouts is, like, it pours out great. The only thing is sometimes you get a little paint on them, you get a little stuck. If you put tinfoil on the top of them, I've had the same paint for 3 months. It's still the same.
Still the same viscosity?
Velocity?
No, viscosity.
Viscosity.
Like thick. It didn't get like watery.
That was
didn't
velocity.
get too thick. No, velocity is like a rocket. Velocity.
Yeah, so you can also do that with, like, paintbrushes too. I usually do, like, a solid, like, tinfoil, then put it in, like, a plastic bag, like, a Ziploc bag, because then the paint doesn't randomly go everywhere.
I've done it too where, you're, like, painting in between coats. So, like, specific, like, my railing, which I painted, and it was primed, and all the paint is just coming the fuck right off. I'm so annoyed.
Did you sand it?
Yep.
Did you use a specific paintwork sometimes?
Yep.
Did you seal it?
I didn't have to seal it. It was like an all-in-one. I know. I'm super confused. But you're doing stuff in between that because, you're not just hanging out there, like, waiting, and it'll take a bit
Watching
for it to
paint dry?
Yeah, literally watching paint dry. And I wrapped the paintbrush, well, like, the rolly thing and the paintbrush that I had in tinfoil, and then I wrapped the tray in tinfoil. So that way, like, an hour and a half later, when it was good to go to add another layer, I unwrapped it, and it was like I just did it. So that way I don't have to, like, wash the brush and then do it, and then you risk getting water in it, or that random piece of whatever getting stuck in it.
Makes the paint go brown.
I know. You got any other household or cleaning hacks?
Have a seasonal mug.
Everybody loves a seasonal mug.
I love mugs with a passion. I love them so much. I have a lot of mugs, but I have one mug per season.
Yep.
And so I just have those ones out and then I put them away.
Which is sweet. It's great. Another thing for me is, even though I know that's, like, some of the things are, like, trendy, I don't go to, like, the full aesthetic fridge voucher, but, venture, not voucher. But I got some clear bins, and I got them from the Dollarama, and I put the stuff in there, so that way things do not end up in the mystery zone, which is, like, all the way at the back of my fridge. They're the perfect size because the last, like, 3 inches of the brand new fridge that I have, no matter what it's set to, no matter what season, will freeze things at times. So I stick them in there. It helps reduce on the food waste, also helps me see, and it makes it easier if you're, like, I grab the bin of, like, veggies or whatever and take it out for snacks, and then grab the bin of fruit and take it out for when I'm, like, packing stuff for my kid and stuff too. So I do that. And then my favorite one is the one that is on the bottom left-hand side of my fridge. I call it the meat bin. And no, it's not for sandwich meat. It's for the meat that you buy at the store for dinner. So that way I can see it. I know it's there. But also, if it leaks, it stays in the bin instead of leaking through everything else in your fucking fridge.
I also removed the condiments from the door of our fridge, and I put them in the veggie drawer, and I put the vegetables on the door of the fridge. Because the amount of times that you get, like, a zombified zucchini because it, like, rolls to the back. Yes, I know, to the people who clean their fridge and do deep cleans every, like, 3 days, that's not me. I don't have time for that. So that's kind of what I do. So I just put it in the side, and then I usually have, like, sandwich meat, flavor, and then vegetables.
Vegetables?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so next up is self-care and productivity hacks. So I've tried, like, a bajillion things. Some of these things are just ones, like, stood out, like, in my brain that worked. One of them is body doubling. One whether utilizing like YouTube channels, so like Laura Lee's vlog channel, I'll watch that because 90% of the time she's cleaning in it. So I'll do that, or any other type of like YouTube video I'll just like have on in the background, or video podcast, something like that. Or the other thing that I have done is I have FaceTimed Eve or my friend Selena, yes, who lives next door to me. And just legitimately I've been like cleaning and talking just because we're doing something, but you're not in the same area.
Actually, on the computer working on the stuff.
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes you're also cleaning and folding stuff. One of the times Selena goes, she's like, what are you doing? I want to go to the grocery store. And I was like, oh, okay, like, what are you getting? And she's like, oh, like, and she's listing the stuff off. And I was like, okay, I can go with you, but I'm just going through my makeup because, like, I took something out and I realized it was, like, older, and I think it's a really good idea to go through it. She was like, you know what? I never remember to do that. So she was just like, why don't you, we'll sit down. And she's sitting there doing the same thing as me. She's like, this is a great reminder. I'm just going to sit down and do that. And then we can go to the grocery store. And we're literally, like, looking at the Flip app together. Oh, okay. Oh, that's a really good deal. And she's looking at a different store. So that way I don't have to look at both of them. She'll be like, oh, I know you use this. Oh, okay, cool. Like, I don't know. It works. The other thing I do sometimes is we'll set goals with my friend Jen and we'll voice memo each other back and forth. But our favorite thing in the entire world to do is to take before and after pictures because it's so satisfying. Or videos.
I think too, when you do the like FaceTimes, I don't know how close other people's siblings are, but when you're Sarah and I will like do hand-me-downs.
Okay.
I'll be like, hey, do you want this? And stuff, so then she doesn't have to dig through the bag, and then it's like you can kind of I find the hardest part about like doing those types of things is like the like wait time, say if you do it on like a Sunday, and most of the stores are not open on Sundays.
Yeah.
So it'll be like you have it, and then you have this random bag of clothes, and you're like, I just want to get rid of it.
I just want it to go.
And so then at least it takes away, like, do you want this? These are the things that I picked out that I think you'll want. And most of the time it's like, yeah, I want that. No, I don't want that. And then it's out.
Oh, yeah. And that's the whole thing. Is like there was a couple things where I held up, and I was like, hey, I haven't worn this, so I'm going to take it to Plato's Closet or to the thrift store or something. I was like, do you like any of this stuff? I'm like, wait, I know you like these. And she's like, yeah, because I already have them. So yeah, I totally want yours. Okay, cool. It's like a pair of shorts that I had.
Oh, yeah.
And then there was a couple other things. And because the proportions are a little bit different, but we were the same size, sometimes things will work out better. Especially like bodysuits.
Sometimes
they're just straight up the vagina. And that's just the way that it goes.
With the body double thing that I find, I'm going to give a little shout out to Zoella, who's currently doing Vlogmas in August. Her 53-minute vlogs get me through. Like, they've been on for, like, it's been, like, I think it's day 8 or something. But I will sit there and I'll put them on and I'll be, like, doing, like, a bunch of different things. And I'm like, oh, my God, I just love this. And she's so lovely and she's so sweet and her kids are so cute.
Oh my goodness, I put one of them on the other day when I was doing something, and my kid goes, oh my gosh, she has 2 kids now? I'm like, yeah. But she's like that person. She's like my lo-fi girl. Because it's never loud, it's never ridiculous, it's always very, like, chill.
And you can watch it, and it's like, that's like, she'll be like, okay, today we're going here, and you're like, oh, this is lovely. And you just hear Audie in the background being like, Mom, Nova's gone to the bathroom. You're like, oh my God, my soul.
You're so cute.
I feel like sometimes I'll do like I'll send after pics to you and be like, hey, look at what I did. Or actually my favorite thing to do is not tell Sarah. And like play the fun game of like, will she notice? Will she not notice?
Oh yeah. Did she notice the wall? Yes, I noticed the wall. Yeah, I had you come down and I didn't put the thingy up. Put the Cricut mounts up.
Oh, those were up before, but they were like on top of the other thing. I just moved it over more. I finished painting one wall, so I got half a wall left. Yeah, and there's a bunch of shit in front of it, and I'll do it later,
including a total gym. So moving on.
My other thing is so playlists of podcasts for me are dependent on the season, and I know that's really
and my mood. The season and my mood.
So sometimes I'll be like really into like certain music, and not sponsored, but one day Spotify. which recently I've upgraded to the family plan.
Yay, if you listened to the last episode and you know that I was debating about it, I messaged her because of the long trip in which I'm taking to Alberta because we were driving and not flying. That I was like, can you upgrade it? Because the playlists are really good because there's not just playlists by like Apple, and I know that there's playlists by other people, but I feel like they're easier to find on Spotify.
Also, they have ones that they have like your daily mix, and they'll have like 5 of them to choose from.
Mm-hmm.
And like one of mine will be like country, and then it'll be rock, and then it'll be alternative, and like it has so many different ones that I can just like click through them.
Mm-hmm.
But shout out to Spotify's ability to change subscriptions. It took me a whopping 5 seconds because Sarah texted me while I was I think I was just coming home from work, and she was like, hey, do you mind doing this? And I was like, I don't know what goes into this. I'm gonna go home. I will sit down and try to figure it out. And I literally opened it. You sent a link to the people. They like uploaded and everything. I was like, it's way easier than like I thought it was like I would have to individually make the accounts and like sign and stuff. And I was like, Kate, so each of you can have an account. There's 6 like total. And I was like,
still have to do Ben's phone.
And I was just like, do whatever, which is nice because then like before, if you had Spotify, you would have to like, you almost like share an account.
Mm-hmm.
But I really like that. And like, I do like Apple Music. I find that like sometimes people don't put their stuff on Spotify, so it's hard to find them. But
one thing I do like about Apple Music is the spatial audio.
Yeah.
It's like they record it in like a different way, or they balance it a different way, and it kind of like bounces from back and forth in your ears. So it feels like it's like going through your brain. I don't know. Sometimes I need that. I'm the same. So it's like, it depends on the mood and the season. And I'll put on any podcast. The podcast I always start with is Unsolicited Advice. Because they're just talking back and forth.
Yeah.
And it's just easy. And then sometimes I'll have like pretty basic, unsolicited, unfiltered. Then pretty unfiltered.
Basically unfiltered.
Didn't they change it? Oh yeah, basically unfiltered. Whoops, don't sue.
I also found though, so like a lot of people say like switching up the environment's really good for people. I find like I am a hoe for making a nook.
Yeah.
I will make a book nook out of any room.
Yeah.
If I am given a shelf, I will make a book nook. And I feel like it's great to some extent, but I also find like sometimes I'm like, oh, I want to sit at my desk, but I also like associate specific things with specific positions in my house. Mm-hmm. So like if I'm working on the website, I have to do it on my desktop because the desktop's bigger.
Yeah, it's like when I record not when I record, when I like edit the recording and stuff like that, I find it easier to do it on the desktop, but I have a 27-inch monitor, that's why.
Yeah. And then if I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to work on designs, I do it on my iPad because it's easier to draw on with my Apple Pencil than the computer.
Oh, 100%.
So I feel like that's kind of dependent on like what you're wanting to do. If you're like, also the other thing is like, say you're cleaning your kitchen, you're not going to take everything out of the kitchen and go to an entirely separate room.
Oh yeah, no.
You put it on the counter, make a disaster, clean out things, and you're like, woo!
Yeah. One of them is that I saw was like create a schedule ahead of time as an example, like plan your day with high priorities. You know what? I've done that. It's like a 90-10 chance that it'll actually work.
I think it's when you say like create your own schedule, I feel like the level of expectation that you have for your day, sometimes people overdo it and people underdo it.
Oh, yeah.
So it'll be like, oh, I want to completely redecorate this room from top to bottom. And like the room hasn't been dusted or cleaned in like 4 months.
Yeah.
And like you want to replace flooring that you haven't gotten yet nor decided on.
Yeah.
Versus like, oh, I would like to go through my books today.
Yeah, versus like mini tasks, because like you'll sit there or you'll have like the biggest, most like grandiose plan and you'll measure everything out and something's just off by a hair because of a molding, or you're like, okay, well, if I go get all this stuff, and then you're like, oh shit, it's before payday. Like I can't get these extra things. Like food is more important.
I also find that like when you make that decision, you go to the store, a lot of the time, like especially Canada, we don't have like the container store. We don't have these, like we have certain things that'll come, but sometimes you have to order it online.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, okay, well, I could either spend like a couple days looking for the specific things that I want, or I could buy the stuff that doesn't really work right now, and I'm going to have to replace anyway in a couple weeks when the other stuff comes.
And it's like the other thing too is just like factoring in, okay, well, maybe I should go through all this shit before I start getting containers for all this shit. Because you probably don't need it all.
Yeah. I think also there's a mixture between like buying containers for the space versus buying containers for the items.
Oh, yeah. And I go through, like, if I get rid of containers or Lazy Susans or anything out of an area, I keep them and I have like a crate bin that I keep all the smaller stuff in. And then the bigger stuff I just have like underneath the stairs. So that way at any time, if I'm like, man, I need blank, I'm like, hey, we'll go look for it. Unless it's broken, then I don't get rid of it. Or unless I see like zero potential of it working. Fun, unconventional hacks. So gamifying tasks, turning tasks into a race against time or competition with someone else. I do this with my kid for fun.
I feel like doing it with your kid, understandable. If we did it against each other.
There's Taskify, I think it's called. And you can put all these tasks in and it makes like, you make like a little gaming character that's like pixelated. And then you can like check off the things and then like you level up and get other things. I think stuff like that is fun, but those are the kind of things where I'm like, oh my God, this is so much fun. And then I would either share it with my kid or like do it with other people. And then to me, it like loses out fast because sometimes I'm like, I would rather recognize and look at everything that I've done versus like putting it in. Because sometimes I'm like, oh, I've done this task. I'm so motivated. I'm going to go to the next one. And then I'm like going through sitting on an app doing a bunch of shit. And I'm like, well, like now I feel like I'm doing it twice. Like this is annoying. Or it gives me like this weird perspective that I haven't done enough. Even though I feel like I've done a lot for what I'm doing.
I feel like there is a balance with like turning things into like fun activities. Like I think that organizing things into specific bins is fun.
Mm-hmm.
But also if you're like choosing to do a reward system that's like withholding, like you have to complete this load of tasks before doing something fun, then you're just basically going to burn yourself out from doing it.
I've done it where like I have a task, I understand how long it should take. And then at the end of the task, I'm like, congratulations, you did such a good job. Now have a treat.
Yeah.
I like stuff like that. Other things that I've done for like any parents listening is I've done time lapse. So like when kids are like, oh, I don't want to do this or whatever, I've done a time lapse so they can watch it. And then it speeds all the way through and they think it's hilarious. Like, oh my goodness, do you see me doing this? And I've done this with like my daughter and her friend. I don't post it anywhere, but they watch it and then we go upstairs because I have an Apple TV and I put on the Apple TV and they just like burst out laughing. And it takes like, it could take them 15 minutes to clean and it's like 15 seconds of footage and they're just laughing the whole time thinking it's hilarious.
Yeah. I think also like when you're like doing like this, obviously I don't have children. But if you're doing, say you're running like to everybody to clean up their own rooms and stuff, I find like I've seen on social media a lot of parents do it for their kids, and they're like, "Oh, I'm just picking up." I'm like, yeah, that's nice to an extent, but also like maybe their room's messy because there's a system that's not working in there,
or they have too much stuff. Like a big thing that our mom used to do with the daycare that she used to have in our house, or even just for like us when we were younger, is she would like rotate the toys out. So it would be like there'd be a Barbie box, a Hot Wheels box, a Lego box, like stuff like that. And you would have like 2 to 3 bins, so very similar to like stations that they have in classrooms. And they'd have those out. And then, you know, when you start seeing them just left out and not really being played with, more just like the dump and go type of thing, you take them, you put them away, and you grab some other stuff and you put it down. So that way it's like a constant rotation of things. And then if you get to it the second time when it's coming out and there's no interest, then it's time to like donate or give that stuff, like give it away in a different aspect.
Well, even like sometimes I will put your child to bed if I'm there, and it's like the drop and go of like, oh, I'm getting changed into my pajamas, and I'm like, did you go to outer space? How did your whole outfit is right there? And she'll look up to me and be like, well, I was getting my pajamas. I'm like, is that where it goes? And she's like, but I'm tired. I'm like, don't care.
Oh, she's really good.
And then she'll be like, fine. And I'm like, oh, myth drop. And then she'll get into bed and she's like, well, like sometimes it'll be like, I'm not doing this with you until you complete like this part. Like, yeah. Sometimes she'll get really excited and be like, oh my God, she's really into Uno and this game called Garbage.
Yeah.
And I will play, usually if I'm home, I, on average, will play 9 games between garbage and Uno.
Yeah.
And I love playing it. But sometimes she'll be like, oh my God, well, I want to play Uno now. I'm like, well, you got to make sure that the cards are put away first and then go grab them.
Yeah.
So it's like creating that mindset versus being like, your room's a mess. Why is it a mess?
Oh, yeah, no. Because she walks in her room the other day and she goes, oh, my room looks kind of messy. I'm like, hey, why do we think it's messy? She's like, well, my friend and I were in my room and we took my costumes out and I was wearing them and we kind of like squished them back in the box. And then we went outside. And I was like, okay. So she like cleaned them up. And then she's like, I don't know what this random bag is. And I was like, I don't know what it is either. And I look and it's like some of her stuff, but a mixture of like other things. And I was like, I asked her dad, I'm like, what is this? He goes, oh, it was like a bag that has a bunch of her stuff in it. Her stuff's on the top, but there's like snacks and stuff underneath. And she's like, we don't have snacks downstairs because it's downstairs, it's ground level. So it's like ants. You don't want any of that crap. So she like pulled her stuff out and then she was like taking it around. But her room is probably one of the cleanest rooms in the house most of the time, to be totally honest. She's really good. The only time she usually throws like a out there is like when she's exhausted. And I'm like, look, you can choose to have your stuff on the ground, but if you wake up in the morning and trip on it, that was the personal choice that you made.
Also, I feel like it's noticing if like the stuff in the room was actually caused by the person. Like, you know, when people just like will just drop shit in your room and you're like, yeah, what the hell? What is this? And they're like, oh, well, like you said, like, oh, well, I saw I had a bunch of her stuff. Yeah. And it's like, well, like, maybe ask before putting it in. Is the whole bag full of stuff theirs? Or why did people put it in the middle of the fucking room?
Oh, the other thing is, like, when I deep clean her room and then I have, like, bags of, like, stuff to give away. And the worst is, like, I'll have them in there and I'll be, like, finishing up putting stuff away. And then, like, somebody comes in, whether it's her or, like, whatever, and they start digging through those bags. I'm like, what are you doing? Those are the giveaway bags. I'm about to take them out. Like, and I usually take them out and I put them in just, like, the laundry room for the time being. And it's like, oh, well, or I'll put them at the end of the stairs so that way I, like, see them. Because the landing that we have near the door is really small. But it's just like, oh, and sometimes she'll walk in and be like, oh, my room's so clean. Like, what are these? And I'll forget about them sometimes. And sometimes she'll be like, so when do we want to drop these off?
Oh, yeah. And it's like, even if you have like a kid who likes to draw all the time and they're like, man, like there's paper everywhere. And you're like, well, if you look at it, they're drawing all the time, but you have no place for them to put it.
Yes.
Give them a folder. I feel like people immediately associate mess with incapability to clean.
Yeah.
9 times it's not. It's usually like, oh, like summertime. Oh, I'm really hot. Okay, I ran in and put my bathing suit on. These are my clothes. I'm going to wear them after. And then you come inside and mom's like, oh, what? Can you have a shower? And you're like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to get into my pajamas now. And it's like, yeah. Okay, so these are like midday clothes.
Yeah. Well, it's like the understanding like when it's being used. Like, for example, my daughter was doing crafts and paper crafts and all this other stuff. And what I really started to notice was she was doing a lot of the stuff on the ground, even though she has like a large desk to do it on. But then I realized she's got like a lot of stuff on the desk. And it's not, sometimes it gets covered in crap when other people clean. But it's like a sticker maker was on there because there was no drawer or whatever to put it in, or there was this giant rotating thing that we had that had all the pens and pencils and everything, but it took up over half the desk at one point, but it was like an awkward amount. So when she wanted to do something that was a bit larger, she'd go to the ground, which we have like really crappy old linoleum. So it's totally fine and cleans really fast when it comes to anything. But I was like, oh, like I can just get one of those like hanging folders for the wall and then she can put her stuff in there. Or I can put all those pencil crayons and everything in the drawer and like separate them by type in like bags. So that way she can pull them out, Ziploc bag them, put them back in.
A lot of people, I thought they were like becoming a minimalist. And I'm like, kids, I feel like if you restrict kids from having like, if like birthdays and stuff and
buy everything. I know so many people who are the result of that behavior.
And then I'm like, if like, oh, well, I'm going to be a minimalist. I only want them to have specific things. And I'm like, well,
why are they always beige and neutral tones? Like earth tones?
Or they're white.
Yeah, white.
Don't understand why. But some of the other things are, like we said, going grocery shopping and stuff. I am not an app person for this stuff. I hate because every time I am led with the disappointment of, would you like to pay $2,000 a year to do this? Or would you like this? And I'm like, I literally just wanted, like, I want to trial the app, and it'll be like a 3-day trial, but like the thing won't help you until like day 7 you figure this out. And I'm like, I don't want to drop $300 on something.
Yeah.
Then I'm probably gonna, like, if I don't use it frequently. So most of the time I just go with a solid paper.
I'll do paper, or I use the reminders part that's already on the Apple phone thing, like reminders, or I'll just like do it in like a notepad, because then you can have like subcategories and check things off.
I will just usually like write it out that I can use different colors.
Usually what I do is, like, before we go on a trip, is I will make a list for like even like my kid, myself, and like other things that we want, and I'll print the list out, and I'll have 2 boxes. Everyone can laugh at me if they want. I'll have 2 boxes of like packing up and packing out of said hotel, so that way you can make sure you have all the stuff. And my kid loves it. When she was little, I did pictures. Sometimes my pictures were not good, so if I drew them, so sometimes my kid would have to ask what it was. But it gets them like involved in packing and understanding like what's needed and why. Sometimes they're like, how come I need this? It's like, well, you need to brush your teeth. Like,
but also, like, even if you have, like, when we went down for the wedding, I was like, oh, I'll go through the stuff. And your kid was like, are you packing me shorts of this? And I was like, this is what I'm packing you. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me if there's anything else? And it's like, okay, I'm okay with all of this. Because then, you know when, like, parents will pack outfits for their kids?
Yeah.
And it'll be like, well, actually, I don't like the feeling of the shirt. Or, I don't like how...
Crap, I didn't know that.
Or, like, it's very common that for your kid that, like, it'll stretch out during the day, and, like, it'll start fine. And at the end of the day, it's like, oh, it's grown 3 sizes.
Oh, yeah. And suddenly there's, like, side chest. And you're like, that's not what I dressed her in before, but okay.
And it's like, oh, are you comfortable with these things? Yeah. And so then, my big tip, especially traveling, is I traveled all across pretty much our province when I was in high school for sports. And people use packing cubes. I've used Ziploc bags, like the large ones.
Yeah.
So I would have like my uniforms. I'd have all of those types of things, and I'd separate them in like daily outfits based off Ziploc bags. Now those Ziploc bags didn't go to like the trash after I like emptied them.
No.
Then I would separate them afterwards of things that I needed to clean and things that I didn't need to clean.
Yeah.
But the amount of like space I saved, and I was like, okay, I'll pull this out. Okay, I'll pull this out. I was never the one who had shampoo leaking over anything. I never had any of that. And I also never took more stuff than I needed to.
I think that's like a big thing is when it comes to like even like packing or like little hacks. So when I was in Girl Guides, they taught us to pack outfits, head to toe outfits, and put them inside Ziploc bags, and even be like, oh, like write what this is for, like hiking, so that we have like long pants and a long shirt, and you could even put like bug spray or something like that in there. So there's like all those other different things that you can do in order to like, you're organized, but it's also helping like keep everything safe, because like when you were camping where I was and where I grew up, it's wet as crap. So it really helped. I mean, it really helped when my tent flooded, and I woke up with my head in a puddle.
Yeah, so I feel like those types of things is like a lot of social media will be like, you need to have all of these separate things.
Oh yeah, no.
And I'm like, no, I have like I got this thing from TJ, like Marshalls, and it was a combo of 4 things.
It's alertable, telling me about the thunderstorm. But like, why is he messaging me?
I was wondering where you're from, but I was like, that's so weird.
It's so weird. Sorry.
And there's like, it's like this little cylinder, and it has 4 separate sections for your shampoo, conditioner, body wash.
Oh my God, the thing is the best.
Oh my God, it is like the size of a toilet paper roll.
My husband picked it up because it was one of the things that like got mixed in with everything else.
Yeah.
And he picks it up and he's like, what the fuck is this? And he goes, oh my God, this is so smart, because sometimes those bottles hold way too much stuff.
Honestly, it held more than I needed, but it was great. And like the bottles were squishy.
Yeah.
I didn't have to deal with any, like, didn't leak, popped in my bag. Great.
No, that was sweet. And you were like, I found it at Marshalls.
I use Marshalls.
Yeah, and I was like, oh. You're like, what? I'm like, no, I want one. One thing I started doing that's very similar to like the outfit in Ziploc bag thing is I sit in front of my dryer, and I'm like, I'll reach in and I'll be like, shirt for my kid, underpants for my kid, shorts for my kid. And then I roll them all up in the shirt and then stick them in her drawer. And I've done that for the last 2-3 weeks now. So that way, if she wakes up or whatever, she just has to go. She knows she grabs a bundle, she throws it on, and she's good to go.
Well, and her dresser is at a height that it's she can reach the top shelf, but also it's she can't fully.
Yeah, the drawers are really high because it's that mum dresser from IKEA. So it's she can't see inside what I use as the underwear and sock drawer, but she can reach her hand in there.
And hope to find.
And just hope to find something. But if stuff say she grabs all the stuff from the front and nothing's come from the back, then she's trying to reach. And yeah. It just makes it easier. And she was just on Saturday, she got up, woke up. We let her, she was staying up late too. So she slept in, gets up. First thing she does is get out of her pajamas, goes over, grabs her stuff, goes upstairs, brushes her hair, and comes outside. And she's this is great because there's no awkward thing. She knows it's an outfit. But she told me her favorite thing in the whole world is she knows that the outfit will work and make sense. And there's nothing that's going to be paired together that's interesting.
I think it probably was 6 months ago. We our little brother takes, we all take vitamins and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was always oh, well, was the vitamin D in there? What was in there? And so I was buy the weekly thing. Everybody puts vitamins in each day.
Yeah.
And then if you're going traveling, you have Monday to Friday done. And you're oh, okay, sweet. I just have to take this with me. And it's basically taking your prescription meds, but you don't have to remember any of those.
Well, yeah. Just making sure that he gets all the things we had originally for his meds, but the extra vitamins and stuff that he takes. Also, I don't know if anybody else has those random, they're not even hand spasms, just when your hand decides not to hand anymore.
Well, and then you just have to pop it open. And even I have a pocket pharmacy.
Yeah.
I don't have to carry around a bunch of medication.
I got that fun one that had the bouncy button that rotated. I'm this is so fun. It just gets clogged.
Oh, I had that for a day and I dropped it.
Dude, and then the top pops off and your shit goes everywhere and you're son of a bitch.
I think then having those ones, we're oh, okay, sweet. Have a couple Tylenol. I have a couple this. I have
yeah.
Backups to those. I love a pill container.
I know. I usually buy those ones that are from the Dollarama that are the tubes, and I'll have those everywhere instead because that way they're labeled and they'll have an expiration date. Because I'm the one who's oh my god, I have Tylenol, and then I'm funny. It doesn't feel it's working that well, and I'm oh, because that's expired. Oops.
I also find that having little stations with her kid, and I went over and I was helping clean up things. I was man, your kid likes to do your hair kind of in every room, and so in every room there's this little basket that I put hair elastics and a brush and a water bottle. And the amount of times that I get a text from Sarah saying, "Hey, I've put another,"
because it's just most of the time her hair, even though because our bathroom's smaller. You've got 2 adults, everyone's going to the bathroom. Most people are having showers and it's small. It's just easier. So there's stuff in the top drawer in her bedroom. So if she gets up, she can do that. Or the other thing is if she's going upstairs and she's going to school, she'll be eating her breakfast. Sometimes she'll just sit and do her hair. I'll do something fun. And then I already have my stuff in my room because I'm not going to hog the bathroom the whole freaking time. So.
Also, sometimes people have a deuce in the morning, and nobody wants to be doing hair in the smell of a deuce.
I know, and also, I am, the most gaggy, freaking smell-sensitive person on the face of the planet. So, if someone drops a dump in the morning, or if there's any sort of other smells, I can't deal with them, and it's better if I'm just upstairs.
Also, sometimes it's a little bit of distraction. It's okay, you're watching your morning cartoon. Yeah, I'm going to braid your hair on this comfy couch instead of standing up trying to move my body to fix this.
I mean, it allows her to gradually wake up too, instead of just being bam, awake. Because she does wake up.
Let me pull your hair. Yes.
Limit distractions was another segment. So noise canceling headphones. I don't like noise canceling headphones. I have headphones and I have the noise canceling turned off because it freaks me out. I know only one AirPod works.
No, I'm just
half deaf.
I'm just noise canceling all the time.
when it comes to that, like, I'll just use something that's like low line. So like they said lyricless music is choosing the right type of music for focus. Yeah. So like I can listen to classical music or jazz in order to focus. And I'm using those specific examples because my husband will play those and do his work and do all this other
But
stuff.
the play is so this is my thing. It's like usually when you hear classical and jazz, you think it's gonna be a lot of like do 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 do.
Like elevator music.
Yeah. Anytime that I hear a man listening to jazz, it is like and I'm like,
it's always super loud. But like I'll come home sometimes and it'll be playing all around the house. And he's like, it's just so calm and chilling. And I was like, dude, I'd fall asleep listening to this. He's like, really? Or there's like some other instrument that is in the background that's like low but high enough for me to hear. And I'm like, that's fucking annoying.
I think also for me, we grew up with like, obviously we had more like we have a lot of siblings.
Yeah.
There's 2 other ones other than us, but like both of our parents are not quiet. So like there was a lot of noise and like we listened to a lot of higher level music. Like, yeah, maybe if I was classically trained in piano, I've been around that, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But when I hear silence, I'm like, I'd rather like listen to like hype music than although EDM music. She said, I listened to Sarah before we went to the wedding, and I said, I love you, and I understand that your husband's doing all the driving, but if he plays 4.5, 5 hours of EDM music, I'm going to fall asleep. And she was like, you might want to bring your headphones. And so I just had him turn
and it worked.
I didn't fall asleep. I just crocheted.
No, you didn't fall asleep. You crocheted, but I saw you put your headphones in.
I only put them in for like 20 minutes.
Yeah, you were like,
and that was because I even warned them. I was like, hey, just a heads up. We get to this certain point and I'm going to be fully deaf.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put my headphones in because if you ask me a question, either way, I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, I can't hear anything. But a majority of the time, like, no, he like switched up to different things and stuff. And like, luckily the Eminem album just came out. So we listened to all of that. And like, there's different tones
in
different
chronological order.
But it's like that consistent, like, do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do, shake, 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 shake.
Oh, they're gonna. I thought you were gonna go like that.
It wasn't even like that. It was just like do.
Pearl.
Go, Steve.
It's Dark Noise Radio.
I'm running. We're getting here with the new music from the Eminem. And I'm like, oh my god, you guys are recorded. Can you not say that many times? Like, obviously I have a podcast, but like
that. But that's different. You
heard me literally. No, but it's like when it's like the same, if it's like the same tempo, like, and it's like they're like an hour and a half, 2 hours long sometimes, and I'm like, what is going on? And then it'll be like, I'm feeling all right, and I'm like, what is going on?
Okay, so ergo to that, ways that Eve and I are different is one of the number one things I clean and do stuff to is the Tiesto podcast.
The
Tiesto. He's a DJ. He's just EDM.
No, like DJ EDM
and like
different.
Karaoke, stuff like that.
Oh my god,
where they like mix it. So there's like I'll listen to that stuff. My husband listens to that mainly when he's like, if he's about to cook a meal that takes forever, like chili or something like that, or like deglazing a pan with like onions in order to make that like fancy burrito dip thing that he makes. Literally, that is like the number one music he usually puts on. I feel like in the summertime, it defaults to like classic rock or country, but he usually tries to like match the vibe of the people that are there. So say like our friends' parents are there and there's 2 sets of them. He'll put on like CCR and like stuff like that. So that way it's like not aggressive, but like if we're hanging out with our other friends, it'll be like gangster rap.
I know, but sometimes like I'll walk in the house and he'll be like, play The Climb by Miley Cyrus. And I'd literally be like, how did we go from like EDM to like the struggles I'm chasing? I'm like, what?
Because that man loves Miley Cyrus. But another thing is, like when you just put on like, I'll be like so many different directions. It depends on what mood I'm in. I might just like binge the entire like freaking history of like Pink and have her just playing the whole time. Same with like Halsey and like Katy Perry. I think it's a lot of times like songs that I can sing to. Also, I like people who have like lower tone voices for the most part.
I think like, I like to have a mixture, and, like, when I'm doing something, I like to sing to it, but also, I'm in the stance that, like, if I want to listen to music out loud, I'll listen to music out loud in one room.
Yeah.
Nothing is worse than, like, when we're cleaning the bedroom, and that man tries to take over Miss Alexa, and he's like, Alexa, play Smooth Jazz, and I'm like, excuse me, I'm listening to Shut Up and Dance.
Yeah, I'm listening to fucking Fall Out Boy. I'm listening to Mariana's Trench. I'm listening to all the other shit that I want to listen. Or like that one song that you think of and you're like, oh my God, that'd be so funny to listen to it. And it's like you're listening to fucking 90s. What's that one by Lauren Elena? Ladies in the 90s.
Oh, Ladies in the 90s.
And I'll be like, oh my God, this song. Or you'll say something and I'll be like, fuck that. What you just said reminds me of blank song. And I'll put it on and it'll be like that Cole Swindell version of the Jody Messina song, and heads Carolina, tails California, like that type of thing. And then you're like, but I want to listen to the original. And then you listen, you know what I mean?
Like you go, it's like a hop track, and then all of a sudden they'll be like, I'm like, Benjamin, you dick.
Well, the worst is like because of how the townhouse is set up, and because we have multiple Alexas, which is annoying. But it'll like echo. And then all of a sudden it'll be like, I'll be in my room folding and I'll be like, put on blank. And it either says something like, I didn't understand what you're saying, or that's not available on Amazon Music. Like, shut the fuck up. And then the bathroom will start playing it.
Yeah.
At the bathroom or Charlie's room will start playing it. I'm like, what the fuck? Oh, This is another thing. It's like life hacks for like doing things. I have an announcement reminder that plays every Tuesday during the school year at 6:45, because we usually leave at about 6:55, 7 o'clock. That says, this is every Tuesday, please remember to have her reading books and her library books in her backpack so she can exchange them today because it's library day. Or when there's like one of those random things coming out, because I'll have it on my phone, I'll see it, I'll check stuff like that like a million times, but like literally it'll announce it all around the house, and then I'm like, oh crap, I need to grab that thing.
I would also, number one life hack, Google Calendar.
Oh yeah.
To follow up with that, we all know everybody has a planner in their families.
Yeah.
I am frustrated planner. I hate when people text me multiple times about the same thing. We now have search bars in text messages. I was like, I'm done. Everybody gets a different color. Attempting to get this family to choose colors of what their color was in the calendar. Painful. What color do you want? I want this one. No, I want this specific shade. Saying, you mother. I would like grape. I'd like this. And I was like, well, I'm making the calendar. I'm going blue. Her child was like, excuse me, Auntie, I want blue. And I was like, you can have a different shade of blue. I'm going to have peacock.
I did bright blue, and then made my husband's yellow, so that way he could see it.
Yeah, which is funny. I don't know. But I was just like, and then all of a sudden it kind of just like formed. Sometimes I change it into a different color, and sometimes it'll be like whoever added it it'll change the color.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of grief it hasn't had anymore of like, well, I didn't know this was happening. Well, I didn't know this was happening. Look at the calendar.
Yeah.
And then I'll usually send a message saying like, hey, this is me.
It's so much at the point of like where like so many people I know, I'm like, my husband asked me a question, I'm like, it's in the Google Calendar. Like if you look up, well, when did it get put in there? Doesn't matter. It's been the Google Calendar this whole time. Like I didn't just whip out my phone in front of you and put it in. Like it's in there. Or, hi, I need to know information. Well, it's in my Outlook. Cool. I don't have access to your Outlook. Can I please just have a synopsis and a time range? I need a date and a time range. That way I can block it out, because I need to figure out who's going to pick up this person. I need to figure out if we're going home that day or if we have to stay over. I need to figure out dinner. Like there's so many other things, because you're not telling me this one set of information. All these other things are pending, and it's driving me crazy. So put the widgets on so that way you can see the things. You can set it up whatever way. Reminders show up on the front of your phone. Like sometimes I actively just like ignore some reminders. Mm-hmm. But then there's other ones where I'm like, oh shit.
Like my Google Docs, literally I say, good morning. And it goes, good morning, Eve. Hope your day is wonderful. On the Google Calendar today. And it reads out the Google Calendar.
Okay. I got it like figured out on how to do it. It's a specific way with the stupid Alexa.
Yeah.
I keep wanting to like just get rid of it and have all Googles. Oh my God, I love this. Spaghetti Factory or Costco.
Those are two very different price ranges. One's like $10 and the other one's like 50.
Right?
Yeah, but Google Calendars are great. A lot of people are afraid of making the jump and they'll have like 50 paper things. I love making Google Calendars. So much fun. Also, like, making an email, I made everybody an individual email, and it's like first name, last name, email. Done. And I'm like, okay, this is the one that I'm sending it to. And sometimes people will be like, oh, can you send it to this one? I just go, no, I've already sent it to one. You can choose that one, and I'm done.
Another thing to remember, too, is you can actually create calendar categories within your calendar without having to have an email.
Yeah.
There's so many people who don't know that you can do that. And another thing that I've like said about Google Calendars, for like, you could do this personally or you could do this professionally. I think it's mainly in the workspace section is if you allocate things and have everything with like a certain color, and then you make sure you change the banners. So that way, say it's like break, project time, this, or you like name it for a specific project that you use. You can have like it's like a time and motion study. So basically you can pull up the stats and you can see over the course of a month, say if a manager or whatever, you can look and see, holy crap, I spent a lot of time doing that. Maybe I should find a better way to do that. Like there's all these things that are in there. I haven't checked to see, because I use it a lot on my phone. I haven't checked to see if it's in the like available for the free like personal workspaces. But I feel like if anybody has anything like that, instead of like, making graphs and figuring stuff like that out, it's like right there. Mm-hmm. So it's a great way to like categorize things. I also like to make things different colors just because it makes it more fun.
Yeah, and you can't like change. This is what gets me is I can change the background of my Gmail, but I can't change the background of the calendar.
I know. So you used to be able to put like pictures behind it.
I know.
Like years ago, but like you can't do it anymore. But at least they have dark mode. That's all that I have to say.
And the last section is just like ADHD management. I find like some of these, yes, in a perfect world, that sounds great. But like for something like do not attempt while you're under pressure and organize and plan without the stress of immediate deadlines. I feel like though, when it's like, don't do it while you're under pressure, sometimes like that item, like itches the part of your brain for you to complete the other tasks.
Okay, I was about to say, I'm a giant procrastinator. Sometimes it's the only way that I get motivated. Sometimes the only way I'll get motivated, see, before this trip. Actually, I've done a lot of things like along the way. But if my way to deal with it is to just continue doing all the things that I feel that I want to do and going to bed at 1 o'clock in the morning, but then I feel great and I go to bed and I get all that shit done, then I got all the shit done. That works for me. Like, there's no cookie cutter way of doing anything. If you try something and it does not fucking work for you, then put it aside. Don't try to like, especially if it was like really, really brutal trying to do it. If you don't see a lot of benefits, you don't need to do it again. You can do it a different way.
I also found that like, how do you know that it's going to cause you stress if you don't try?
Well, and that's the whole thing is like, you can try things, you can do something a different way and be like, wow, this is really great. And then forget and never do it again.
A lot of these are like, keep a paper to-do list, have a master list, have this, have this.
Oh, my favorite one that I saw was stop abandoning tasks. Fuck you. I will do what I want when I want to. Also, I think a big thing is like misjudging how much energy you have. Like when you wake up in the morning, you might be like, ugh, I'm already planning on when I'm going to bed. You know what? Maybe don't take on painting and completely redesigning a room that day. Just putting it out there. Maybe you wake up and feel like you have all the energy in the world. You make all these plans and then your energy dies at 1 p.m. Then accept that.
I think so. Like, I don't know. I like with the wall, I started off with the stairs were dirty, so that I swept the stairs. So then I was like, oh, there's stuff in the hallway. I'm going to clean the hallway. And then I was like, well, I really want to paint this wall.
Yeah.
I feel like this is like not ADHD. It's just like abandoning task sometimes is needed. Sometimes. But it's not like abandoning task, just putting it on hold. Like,
I don't know. I feel like it sounds so dramatic.
It's not like
abandoning a task.
It's not like you're like changing your kid's diaper and like less than makeup. Like you're like, okay, bye.
Okay, bye. I need a snack.
Yeah, or like, I feel like also abandoning the task, like, there's things that have specific deadlines, like grocery shopping. You do need food.
You do need food.
Obviously, abandoning tasks are things that are not like super needed.
I mean, I'll do it too where it's usually about a Wednesday. I feel like I can always like rate maybe I'll make a graph with Eve and can rate our amount of energy over the week. Because I feel like I'm at about like 20% on like a Monday. On Tuesday, sometimes it's about 25, maybe even 15% for the range. And then sometimes Wednesdays, I'm like, I'm in like a 50%. Thursday is like 75 to 100. And Fridays goes one of two ways, 0 or 100%. For like energy. Like all of a sudden I'll be like completely motivated to do something and I feel free even though I'm not in some corporate job just doing whatever. You know what I mean?
I feel like mine's based off of when I work in the week, but also how many days I have off. So if it was like Monday, I'm usually like, okay, I'm probably like 40%.
Yeah.
Tuesday, I'm usually like, it's Tuesday, whatever. Like probably at 40. Wednesday, I'm like, oh, we're halfway through the week, probably like 45. Thursday, I'm like 20. Friday, I'm like 2.5. And then I wait.
Today's a Friday.
Oh my God. So basically, on my last day of work before I go, like I'm off for a couple days, I, without a doubt, will fall asleep with any form of clothing. Like, I will literally fall asleep with jeans on the couch. At like 6 p.m. And then I'll wake up at like 6 a.m. disoriented. But the rest of the week, I'm like, oh, I need to go to bed. I'll wake up. I'm not awake. I'm not awake at all.
I call that zombie. Like this, like yours would be zombie Eve. Mine is zombie Sarah. We are here, but we are not there.
Well, like, and most of the time, like, I can get ready in 10, 15 minutes. And, like, mine is more like, I'll have more energy in the morning. I'd say, like, solid 9 to 11. I'd be, like, the highest energy. And I have lunch, and then I'm like, I want to have a nap. Is work over? Can I go home? Also, it's like, when I come home right after work, I have zero energy. I solid 8:15 p.m. It's where I have my energy to do shit.
Oh, that's what I was saying. It's like yesterday, I was like, I'm like warm. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go in. I'm going to start all the stuff. So I made like all the side stuff for dinner. And I looked at my husband and I said, can you just go barbecue? Like usually I barbecue. I'm like, can you just go barbecue? He's like, yeah, sure. So he went barbecued like corn and like chicken skewers. I made all the side stuff and I sat down once I did the side stuff because I'm like, my portion is done. He's like, okay, so we get all the stuff done. And then I'm like, okay, get our kid to bed. And I'm laying there. She falls asleep. And I'm like flicking through. Then I hear the thing go off. I had those notifications that go off with Alexa. It's like, your washing is done from my washing machine. And I was like, I could get up and do that right now. Oh, I gotta do it. Oh, I'm just going to sit here and flick on TikTok a little bit longer. I'm like, I'll do like 3 more. So I did 3 more. And then I was like, just get out of bed. Other times I'm like, you're tired, just go to bed. And my body goes, "Brr," and I just like literally go to sleep. And then I'm like, okay, get up. So I went, swapped things around, put stuff in, put the dryer on, put more stuff inside the washing machine. I just put on like blankets because I was like, worst comes to where. I mean, I don't care if I have to rewash stuff. Whatever. The effort was there. I go in and then I go upstairs and I'm like, okay. My husband's like, oh, I put away the leftovers. And I was like, okay, I'm actually going to take them out and I'm just going to make like 2 preset meals because I feel like we're going to be tired tomorrow. And he had like a convention thing he had to go to. I'm like, that way we can just grab and go. He's like, hey. And I'm like, I did all that stuff. And then I was opening and closing the fridge. And when my friend's family was over, we had like, they didn't have enough room in their fridge. And her sister had made this like shrimp dip. Well, it smelled. So we had taken it out and like it had been eaten for like the second or third time or whatever. And then even though it was removed, there was still stuff that smelled like it. And I was like, oh dear, there's something else in here. Yeah, I found a rogue cucumber. Even though I used the bin system and it works great, there was one rogue cucumber that was in the bag that fell behind the bin. And it just smelled like ass. It looked like a sea cucumber at this point. But I was just like, oh yeah, like sitting there. So I sat there and I cleaned the fridge out. And then I put the groceries away that we had just bought. And then I did all this stuff. I'm like, wow, look at all the stuff that I did. And then I was pitting around doing stuff. I'm like, well, I better get rid of that recycling. Put all the recycling inside the bag. And I just threw it down the stairs, which sounds dramatic. But it's only a couple stairs. And I was like, you know what? I'll take that out in the morning because it was kind of windy. Sometimes we have I'll call them friends in our dumpsters. Sometimes there's people or things in there. So I'm just not going out at night. I put it down there. I'm like, you know what? I'll just do that in the morning, which I did. And then I was like, oh, I'm just going to sit down and chill for a minute. And I was watching like a video podcast. And I was sitting there. And then I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Go to bed. I like got up and I went to bed. Brushed my teeth, did all the things. And all of a sudden I was like sitting there. I'm like, fuck, it's 11:30. I was cleaning and pitting around and doing all this stuff. But I was still doing things. But because I had the energy to do the things. But then I quickly like caught myself and recognized that I should go to sleep. So like, sometimes you'll have that extra energy, and other times, like, just go the fuck to bed. And that's what you need to do is, like, just make sure that you do what works for you. Make sure you don't get discouraged by, like, messing up or doing whatever. Like, this is your life. No one's lived it before. You're writing your own thing. So figure it out. You're not messing up. Go to sleep and start again. Yeah. That's basically it. Eve is very tired, I can tell. So
I'm hungry.
Yeah. Well, you're hungry. Uh-oh. Okay, so
6:20 p.m.
and she needs more than a snack. So, if you have not listened to us before, please feel free to subscribe, share, do all of the things. We would love to have you as a listener and subscriber. We're on all social media platforms. We're on the YouTubes. For social media platforms, we usually hang out more on TikTok and YouTube. We throw some shorts in there as well. Also, do not forget that we have our own apparel, which is apparel.
We have apparel.
Apparel line called Overwhelm the Label. And on overwhelmthelabel.com, we have lots of things coming up, which is super fun and dandy. And as we like to say every episode, stay as warped and twisted as ever. Thank you so much for listening to us on YouTube. You can find us on all of the socials: Instagram, Pinterest,
TikTok,
Facebook,
Snapchat.
Yes. And we also started a Discord, and we're on Reddit. But you know, those ones we can only do so many things so many times, people.
Yeah. As you can tell by the list of are we here? But if you're more of a, like, just an audio type person, we're on Spotify Podcast, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music. I think we're on Pandora, iHeartRadio, and you can also check us out on the RSS feed.
Oh, yeah.
Which we also found out has its own website, which is pretty sick.
It is pretty sick. Well, thank you so much for listening, and feel free to go re-listen to some of the episodes that we have.